So many have spoken a lot about iPhone 15, but what's happening with the rest of the range? You see, when we get new models, older models either get axed or get price cuts, and I have some predictions that might surprise you on how the late 2023 iPhone range could shape up to be, so let's delve into it. Let's work our way down the range, so let's first begin with the iPhone 15 Pros. I think we can be 99.9999999% sure we're getting a price increase. I know we heard this last year too and there were no price increases, but I do think it's going to end up happening this year because inflation is a thing, guys. Not only is milk and bread getting more expensive for us, but Apple's iPhone components are also increasing in price. And so yes, you can bet your bottom dollar we're gonna see higher prices with this year's Pro models. And by the way, would like to remind you guys, like this video and subscribe for more content like this. It would be appreciated. Now, we've had outrageous claims like the Pro Max / Ultra being $200 more expensive, but I personally doubt that. I know Timothy loves his money, but there is no way he could get away with such a massive price increase. All the angry sheep would riot outside Apple HQ, so personally I think it makes a lot more sense the Pro and Pro Max or Ultra gets $100 more expensive. So that means the Pro should be $1099 and the Pro Max should be $1199. And if you think about it, technically, this is not a price increase because we've heard about Apple doubling the base storage, and currently 256 gig 14 Pros are also $1099 and $1199, so yeah, it's not too bad. At least Apple's giving us more storage. I should emphasize though, what I say only applies to the US because if you're unlucky enough to live outside the US like myself, you just know we're gonna get price increases regardless. We see this every year for no reason, so get your kidneys ready. In fact, watch how older iPhones also get more expensive, just like last year. So yeah, I've just had enough of this. Let's continue talking about US pricing, because if I rant on about non-US pricing, this video is gonna be an hour long. So let's now get back to iPhone 15, because if you don't fancy selling your kidneys, thankfully the regular model should stay at the same price as last year's phones in the US. Now ideally Apple should have made these cheaper because last year the 14 Plus especially was just too expensive, but to create some differentiation in the lineup, Apple instead gave us the exact opposite and increased prices with the Pro models. And so yeah, now there is a large enough gap between the regular and Pro models, and so $800 and $900 are gonna stay as the prices for the 15 and 15 Plus, and I guess at the very least we should be grateful we're not getting price hikes with these regular phones. So everything I've said so far, things I'm sure you guys are aware of too, but now let's get to the older iPhones. So obviously we know the 14 Pros are gonna be axed because if they stayed in the range, no one would buy the 15s. But what happens to the regular models? Last year, both the 13 and the 13 mini stayed in the range, and the year before that, the iPhone 12 and 12 mini stayed, so of course, surely that means the iPhone 14 and 14 Plus are staying, right? Right? Well, I don't think so. This is my bold prediction for the day, but I think there's a good chance Apple just drops the 14 Plus a year after release and only keeps the 14. And if you're confused as to why I think this, let me explain my thoughts. So in the past, the mini devices were cheaper than the regular phones, and so for example, a year later, the 13 and 13 mini were $699 and $599 respectively, but considering the Plus was a more expensive device, it should be $799 if it stayed in the range a year later. And well, what else is $799, guys? The brand new iPhone 15. And so I think there is a chance these two phones competing at the same price could cause issues for Apple. Now I know the 14 Plus did not do that well sales-wise. In fact, it flopped straight on its face. So I could be completely wrong about this, but in my opinion, at $800, people could be swayed towards the Plus over the regular 15. Now yes, the regular 15 has newer specs and the new fancy ports, but at the end of the day, a regular consumer cares the most about having a big display and big battery life, and you get that with the 14 Plus, and so they might go with that, irrespective of its worst specs, and Timothy won't be too happy with that. Now some might bring up the fact that hey, right now the 13 mini and 12 both compete at the same price, and so why can't the 14 Plus and the 15 compete at the same price? Well, for one, those are older phones, but also the mini only appeals to a small market because of its smaller size, but as a lot of market research shows, people like humongous phones. Yes, bigger is better, guys. And so I do have a strong feeling the 14 Plus is going to be discontinued from the range only a year after release. And considering Apple had to cut production for this phone anyways because of low sales, they should easily be able to sell off remaining stock via third parties. So as a result, only the regular 14 survives at $699, and I can already see Apple store employees upselling consumers to the 15 because only $100 more gets you the A16, the fancy island that looks cool but does nothing, and the SBCs. So yes, only keeping the 14 makes sense to upsell more consumers to the 15 series. Moving to the iPhone 13, we usually see the regular iPhone stay for another 2 years in the range post its initial release, and so this definitely is staying in the range. It's still selling well for Apple and is actually the 4th best-selling smartphone right now, which is insane, and so I'm sure it's going to continue doing well with a $100 price cut, and honestly at $599 this might be the best value in the range if you're buying new from Apple, because if you don't need the fancy bells and whistles, the 13 offers the essentials and is more than enough for regular consumers, and so yes, I would recommend getting this, especially over the 14. Now we come to the beloved iPhone 13 mini, and well, I'm sorry guys, but I think its time is over. Now I know many wanted the mini to be a success, but clearly small phones have been rejected by the market. Everybody wants ginormous 7-inch monsters, and so considering the 12 mini did not stay with the 12 last year, expect the 13 mini to also be axed, but the 13 stays. So yeah, let's pull one out to the mini with my imaginary glass. RIP. The same applies to the iPhone 12, that's also going to go because last year the 12 got discontinued, and so this is next in line to get axed. And what's surprising actually is that people are still buying the iPhone 11 over the 12. Yes, the 11 that came out 4 years ago is currently the 10th best-selling smartphone, which is crazy because Apple does not even sell that new anymore. It's only available through third parties, but for some reason, people still buy this over the 12 that has 5G OLED, the new design, but no, let's go with an old LCD iPhone instead. It's kind of crazy, but either way, the 12 being discontinued makes sense, and I guess no one's gonna miss it. And finally, we have the iPhone SE. Will this get a price cut at last? No, I don't think so. Apple's likely going to keep this at $429, which was the launch price in the US, and they're likely going to keep this till they drop the new version sometime in the future, and I guess it's borderline fine as an entry-level iPhone, but I will say guys, if you have $400 lying around for a new iPhone, you're probably better off getting a refurb iPhone instead. You can actually find the SE3 itself for much less. I got mine in like-new condition for $200, and it's not even the base model with 64 gigs. I managed to get the 128 gig model, so yeah, basically guys, whatever you do, don't be a clown and buy this for retail price. Definitely look around for deals, and if you're afraid of third parties selling sketchy phones that might burst into flames, there is, of course, Apple's refurb store instead. You can trust their devices, and the 12 mini right now is less than a brand new SE3, so definitely go with that instead if you're looking for a new $400 iPhone. So those are my prediction, guys. As a recap for you guys, iPhone 15 Pro Max should be $1199, iPhone 15 Pro should be $1099, iPhone 15 Plus should be $899, iPhone 15 should be $799, iPhone 14 should be $699, iPhone 13 should be $599, and iPhone SE stays at $429. Also, we have heard about 2 unreleased A15 iPhones in tvOS code of all places, so I would not be surprised if those are newer versions of the 13 and 14 that of course come with the USB-C ports, just so there's a little more uniformity in the range. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.